All right, well, good evening, everyone. So my name is Allie Cook, and I'm a Maine SNAP Ed nutrition educator in Washington County, Maine. So basically, I teach people how to shop, cook, and eat on a budget all day long, and now all over Zoom. So yeah, well, we can get started. I will share my screen. And I do have a second desktop, so that's why I may not be looking at my computer. So yeah, we're gonna learn how to eat healthy as a graduate student. I do a lot of work with elementary school kids, so you'll see my Bitmoji throughout the presentation. It's a fan favorite with that crowd. And so we're also gonna learn how to eat healthy on a budget, which is definitely really important. So like I said, I work for Maine SNAP Ed. A lot of the content from this presentation just came from our other organizations, Cooking Matters. So I just wanted to give some credit to them. This is me. So like I said, Shop, Cook, and Eat on a Budget. We are funded by the Department of Health and Human Services, and UNE funds our grant. And in Massachusetts, your SNAP Ed is hosted by University of Massachusetts Amherst. And I have some links at the end, which will give you some Massachusetts specific SNAP Ed information. So another quick thing about me, I am not a registered dietitian. So if you have any specific questions regarding health, especially for you, definitely take that up with your doctor. But so we're just going to be talking kind of generally. Whoa, long day. And then also I am 25, so I don't know if I'm a similar age to you, but graduated college a couple of years ago, fresh into the workforce. I am not a serious person, so I definitely would love this to be a dialogue. And if you have questions at any point, feel free to unmute and ask them. But I just wanted to start off by seeing what were some barriers that you guys feel you face to eating healthy. So then that way maybe I could answer questions as we go. Feel free to put them in the chat, or if you are feeling brave, you can unmute yourself.
I feel lazy to type in right now, but
yeah,
time, Louise already said, because for me, traditional things coming from Azerbaijan, they all take so much time, an hour or two, and you do everything, cut, chop, so many things. So that's an obstacle.
Yeah, totally. I definitely second that. If you come home after a long day or a long day on your computer, having the energy to want to cook for yourself is definitely hard. Time and not knowing about different ingredients. Yeah, totally. I know I always want to try out new recipes, and then I'm just I don't have half of these ingredients. I'll just stick to grilled cheese. So I definitely feel that. All right, cool. Yeah. So hopefully we'll have, finding good produce. Awesome. So we're definitely going to be discussing that too. So that'll be good. And then, yeah, hopefully I can answer the time and energy question for you guys by giving you some good tips about quick, easy meals. All right. Okay. And then I also just wanted to start off by asking, what are some ways that you like to save money while shopping at the grocery store? I feel there's already probably a huge wealth of knowledge here. I was just wondering if you guys had any tips before I got started. Also hard to figure out what to eat. Yep, totally feel you on that one as well.
There's one more note in the chat too, Allie, with planning meals for a single person.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Angela. I missed that one. Yeah, planning meals for a single person. I live alone, so I also totally feel that. And I have a slide just on that one, the meal planning for a single person. So we'll definitely get to that. All right, I see. Don't go shopping on an empty stomach. Yes, totally. I've done that before, and I come home with just ice cream. So yeah, definitely that one. Not going down the snack and candy aisles. Yeah, that's awesome. So we want to shop on the edges of the store. That's where all of the, fresh and whole produce and meats and dairy are going to be. Have a list. Perfect. Making a list first. Plan ahead so I get the right ingredients. Awesome. look for days old or about to expire. Yeah, totally. We'll definitely be talking about that too. And seconding a list of items required sticky notes. Perfect. Yeah, so you guys have already listed a bunch of stuff that I am now just going to start talking about. See, told you guys, already a huge wealth of knowledge here tonight. So we can use rewards programs as well. So thinking about local chain supermarkets. So that's like Stop and Shop. I think Angela was telling me there's a Market Basket and a Wegmans maybe in the Tufts area. And then there's also a Whole Foods. That one I just put a little asterisk because we'll want to be a little careful there. You can definitely get a little pricey, but they do have a rewards program. Checking weekly sale flyers. So seeing if there's anything, a lot of this has Hannaford brand stuff because that's our big chain up here in Maine. Ooh, Aldi, perfect. So yeah, that's another great one if that's where you like to go. So checking the weekly sale flyers is always a good idea. Meal planning. So we kind of talked about that with the making a list. So like in this example, you can meal plan out the day of the week and then start your shopping list next to it. So that is a great idea, which a bunch of you already mentioned. And then do you guys ever look at price tags? And if I say unit pricing, does that ring a bell to anyone? No. Cool. Well, let's learn all about unit pricing. So this is an example with yogurt. We got a couple yeses and another nope. Awesome. Let's learn something new. So we have our labels right here, and this is for yogurt, but this is also works for a variety of options at our grocery store. You can see it with vegetables as well. So basically we have our 6-ounce low-fat yogurt and then our bigger 32-ounce low-fat yogurt. So same product, just the sizing is different. Here in the white section, we see that at the register, you're going to pay 72 cents versus over here at the register, you're going to pay 162. Now, if we look at the orange section, this is our unit price. And so here, like per ounce, you're paying 12 cents for the 6-ounce one, and then only 5 cents for the 32-ounce one. So these questions just have a lot of math. I'm not going to ask you to math at 5:45 at night. So basically, which product is going to cost less at the register? The smaller one. We can see that with our white area with what you pay. But per ounce, B costs less. So even though you're paying more at the register up front, like overall, you're getting more product for less. So if you wanted to buy 32 ounces of just the 6-ounce yogurt, you would have to pay $3.84, which is almost double 162. Now, I will say the caveat with unit pricing is you also just want to think about your consumption habits. So if you're trying yogurt for the first time, even though for the unit price, it costs less to buy the 32-ounce, like if you don't know you like yogurt yet, maybe just buy one of the 6-ounce ones, because if you don't like it, then you have made the better budget-friendly option. But if you are someone that eats yogurt every morning, then in the long run, buying the 32-ounce one is going to save you more money because it's something you can scoop out of into a little bowl and then have, and in the long run, you're paying less. So it's definitely important to look at our unit pricing, but then it's also important to think about how are you using it? Like, are you just going to use it once for one recipe, or are you going to be like needing a lot of yogurt? So that is also something to keep in mind. And then lastly, buying store brand is going to help us save money as well. So here again, Hannaford example, but same product, crushed tomatoes, and you're saving 90 cents here on this store brand one. I have shopped at Stop and Shop and Market Basket, and I know they have store brand options as well. So you'll definitely be able to find those, and Aldi does too. So those are some quick things about just budget tips. And now we're going to kind of go into the grocery store and break it down food group by food group. So this is MyPlate, which is given to us by the USDA. Do you guys remember the pyramid? Like that's what it was when I was in elementary school, but it's basically like the government's guides on like the amount we should eat for each food group. So they made it into a plate 5 years ago. They just redid the dietary guidelines and they're keeping the plate, but it shows us that the big takeaways are like making half our plate fruits and vegetables, getting a quarter of our plate whole grains, a quarter of them protein, and then having a little dairy up in the corner. I also personally think there should be water on here, but there isn't. So you just need to keep it in the back of your mind that we want to be consuming water. Okay, and then I don't want to spend a lot of time on the nutrition fact label just because I really want to get into each food group. They changed the pyramid. That's crazy. Yeah, so yeah, they changed it. They actually update our dietary guidelines every 5 years. And so this year was actually a year where they updated it. There weren't that many changes from what I could tell. They still kept the MyPlate, but yeah, about, I want to say 5 years ago now, maybe 10, they changed the pyramid to a plate. So definitely crazy. And what is the diameter of the plate? So I think specifically the diameter doesn't really matter. It's just like in general, this is just like a general idea. Like obviously you're not going to have your plate perfectly divided into 4 quadrants. It's kind of just whatever plate you have at home. And in general, we just want to be making like half fruits and vegetables, really piling those up, a quarter grains, a quarter protein. And also we don't need that at every meal. Again, it's kind of like having that balance all throughout the day. So if you have like a pretty heavy like fruit and breakfast or fruit and vegetable breakfast, then, you know, like having a couple more grains and protein later in the night is fine. It's, you kind of just want to like find balance. And again, it's just a general guideline. These are great questions. So yeah, I don't want to spend a lot of time on the nutrition fact label. I want to jump right into the budget and the like eating healthy part, but I do just want to point out this cool new thing they started where they are adding the added sugars to the label. So before it would just be total sugars. And if you had something that had a lot of natural sugar, like fruit juice or something, you wouldn't be able to tell how much was naturally there or was added. So I think it's pretty awesome that now you can kind of see how much added sugar there is and, you know, focus on staying away from those. So that's a new thing that rolled out last year. All right, so now we're going to get into each food group. I'll go through some budget and health tips for each of them. And after each one, that's like a good point to ask questions if you have specific ones about those. Also, sorry if you can hear my roommate's dog loudly drinking water in the background. And so that would be a good time to ask questions. But if not, there'll be time for questions at the end. So produce, our fruits and our vegetables. Now, if I remember, there was a question about not being able to find fresh produce or some produce, finding good produce. So the cool thing about this is that there's 4 ways that we can purchase produce. So fresh, dried, frozen, or canned. And nutritionally, there's no huge difference between all 4 of those. Yes, fresh is best, but for our frozen, canned, and dried, all of our products are harvested at their peak nutritional freshness and then frozen, canned, or dried right away. So you're not losing a huge amount of nutrients. So that's really good in general. Like, you know, if you really like beans a lot, like getting canned beans isn't really that bad for you. And we'll have some more tips later. So nutritionally, basically the same. And when we're thinking about fresh, our fresh ones are going to be cheapest when they're in season. So right now it's winter, so a lot of our root vegetables are going to be good, especially here in New England. Those will most likely have like grown here in season locally and will still be pretty cheap. And I literally just Googled like Massachusetts growing vegetables calendar and found this. So like if you ever have any questions about what's in season in your area, a quick Google search will help you find that. And also I'm pretty sure these slides will be available, so you can always check back on at this page. So yeah, for our fresh, we want to buy those in season. And then we also want to make sure we're kind of using them as quickly as they can. Out of frozen, canned, and dried, fresh is going to go bad the earliest. So definitely not something to be like, oh, let me buy this broccoli, like maybe I'll use it. Like you should have a plan to use the broccoli because it will go bad and then we're throwing it out and that's a waste of money. So for our dried fruit, they're going to keep for a very long time. And they're also a really awesome snack, like banana chips or dried mangoes. Those are some of my favorite. But with our dried fruit, what we want to look out for health-wise is just how much added sugar there can be. So with this original one, 27 grams, and the 50% less sugar, 13 grams. So obviously, again, making sure we're limiting those added sugars in our diet. So just something to look out for here. For our frozen, here we want to make sure we're checking the ingredients list. So we got the happy face because for our Brussels sprouts and our strawberry, just one ingredient, those vegetables or fruits, super awesome. This roasted red tomatoes and green beans, tons of ingredients that ones we probably don't even need. And then others we can add ourselves. Like here I see garlic powder, other spices, dried parsley, like those are all things if you have them, you know, you can add them yourself. And I really like to flavor my own things. One, because I have a lot of fun seasonings that I've collected over the years, but also then you know how much you're adding in. Like we'll be talking about like sodium right here. So thinking about our can, here we want to look at sodium. So if we look, this low sodium one has the non-sodium one has 3 times more than the low sodium option. So you're better off buying the low sodium. And if you want to add a little salt or other seasonings, like you're controlling how much you're putting in. So by getting frozen or canned options that have low sodium and the simplest ingredients, you're going to be getting like the most basic food that is best for you. And then you can control what is added. Sometimes I go to the grocery store and they don't have the low sodium option. So I have to buy the higher normal sodium option. What I like to do then is just get a strainer, open it up and throw it under the sink and rinse my beans. I mean, I do that anyway because beans are kind of like goopy when you take them out, but by rinsing them, that's going to help wash away any excess salt or other things that we don't want. So if you are stuck getting a non-low sodium option, rinsing them is just as good. So with our frozen and our canned, we want the simplest ingredients. And then also the pros of these is that they last for a really long time compared to our fresh. So I always like to have beans in my pantry because burritos are a go-to for me. So if you know that there's some type of meal that you really like to eat all the time and you see that those beans or that canned product is on sale, that's usually a great time to stock up. And then kind of getting to that time barrier we were talking about earlier, if you already have some things that you like, then you know, oh, I don't have to make an extra trip to the grocery store. Like it's that much easier to make a meal that is healthy and is quick because you already have some of your staple items. So definitely stocking up on those. And then same with our fruit. So here, instead of sodium, it's going to be that added sugar that we were talking about. So we want to make sure we're going for 100% juice because then it's all going to be our natural sugar versus in heavy syrup. And just like with the sodium, if you're getting the heavy syrup, just rinse it in the sink. And that will help wash away some of those excess sugars. So lastly, there will be a slide like this for each of the sections with just kind of least expensive fresh produce and then healthy snack ideas that are pretty quick. I know this is a lot of words. I don't really like words on my slide. So like I said, they'll be provided. So if you want to check those out, you can afterwards. So now we'll move on to grains unless anyone has any pressing questions about our produce. Again, chat or unmute is totally fine. Okay, we're looking like we don't have questions. All right, then I will keep us going. So grains. There are a lot of great whole grains out there. We have some rice, barley. I think we have some chia seeds down there, some popcorn, which is really good. So tons of different whole grain options. And for our grains, when we're thinking about that quarter of our plate, we want to be trying to get mostly whole grains. So when we're looking for whole grains, we want to see the words whole. So like whole wheat, whole rye, oats. Whole grains also like barley or whole grain flour. Brown rice is a great one. Bulgur, buckwheat, quinoa, many, many options. And so basically, what is a whole grain? And basically, it includes all of the grain. So there's the bran on the outside and then the germ on the inside. And that's where all of the great fiber are steel cut oats whole grain. I believe so, but you are going to have to look at the ingredients list, which I'll get to a second. But I believe all oats are whole grains. The steel cut is just how they're like prepped for the packaging versus like a quick oats or, whole oat. But I believe they are. So like I was saying, the bran and the germ just have all the vitamins and nutrients in it, whereas with the refined grain, it's just all that starchy carbohydrate, which doesn't really keep us feeling full and doesn't have all those nutritional benefits. So how do we know if a product is made of a whole grain? So the only true way to know is to look at our ingredients list, and it needs to be the first ingredient on the list right here. So if you want to look at your steel cut oats, now you will know if it is. And for those ones, it'll probably just say like whole oatmeal or oatmeal, and that's fine. But we also need to be careful because terms can be misleading. So we can have these made with whole grain stickers on the front. We have this one down in the corner. Ooh, 12 grain bread. All natural, multi-grain, split top. So all of these advertisements can be misleading, and even the bread can look misleading. So let's look at some examples. So we have these, they look like Ritz crackers, I guess. They're like tinted a little bit of brown, like they have those specks, like, ooh, they maybe look like a whole grain. And then if we look, unbleached enriched flour. So that's actually a no-go. And a lot of times companies will kind of dye crackers and breads with molasses so they look darker and look like a whole grain. So that trick might have been used here, but again, so it can look kind of healthy on the packaging, but we need to check that ingredients list. All right, here, whole wheat pasta, says it on the cover, feeling good about it. We check our ingredients list. Yep, whole grain durum wheat flour. So this one, we're good to go. And then lastly, kind of again, here what I was talking about, multi-grain bread. We got all those nuts and seeds on the top, looking real good. Ingredients list, enriched wheat flour. It does have a little bit of fiber. So, maybe this is like, and, we notice down more that there's rye, oats, barley, corn, all that stuff. But I bet you that's just going to be what's on the top, not like the main part of the bread, which is going to be that enriched one. So again, our grains can be a little bit tricky, but by just checking that ingredients list, we'll know if it's a whole grain or not. And then we have all of these great options. I really love popping my own popcorn that's fresh without the added butter. And then again, using my own seasonings to flavor it up, where again, you're controlling what you're putting on it. Hummus is great. That also gets us some protein. Making your own trail mix. A lot of stuff too with these like the trail mix one, again, thinking about time as a barrier. I'm trying to be better at this. So again, I'm not saying I do this every Sunday, but having a prep day to kind of either cut our vegetables or make our trail mix ahead of time and have it in a baggie. And then we can just grab it on the way to class or research or however grad school works. That will really help us. So again, thinking about ways, or you could like separate out like pretzels in a little container and hummus in a container the night before, and then it's ready to go. Again, this is something I'm still trying to like work on with my busy schedule, but that's something that can help us with time. All right, do we have any questions regarding our grains? Yeah, I see a hand.
I hope that's for me.
Yes.
I have a question. Because of COVID, I have started making my own bread.
Ooh.
And so I wanted to ask, and I never pay attention to like the flour I'm buying. I just like buy whatever cheap all-purpose flour.
Yes.
And so I was just wondering if the stuff you're saying about whole grains applies to just like bagged flour. And also if you have any thoughts about like mixing grains or like mixing different kinds of flours for baking.
Yeah. Okay. That is an awesome question. And yay, bread baking. That's so fun. So yes, I would say for our flours, it does apply. Like the all-purpose flour, that's still just going to be that, plain starchy stuff. And then I will say, like, it's hard to make all of our grains whole grains. Like I teach about this stuff. I will admit not all my grains are whole grains. Like it's hard. So any way where you can just build more grains into your diet is going to get you one step closer. So, like you said, like if one time you can afford to get the whole wheat nice flour, and then to make it last a little bit longer, you're mixing, like in my book, that is one more step and a little bit more whole grain than you were getting before. So that's great. And then also like if you, like I try to make half of my grains whole grains. So one thing I really like to buy, again, like I love burritos. So I'll be making rice a lot or even stir fries. And so I always make sure that I'm just buying brown rice because it's pretty inexpensive. So then I'm always making brown rice. So then if like my toast in the morning is like, like we are out of whole wheat bread, like me and my roommate, we just have white bread. Like if I'm going to have brown rice for dinner, like I'm feeling okay about having like a couple slices of white bread. Like I'm making one of my grains a whole grain. So it's all just about baby steps. And again, if half of your grains can be whole, like that, I think that's great. We're all living crazy post-COVID lives. Like if half your grains are whole grains, you are doing so fine. That's a great question. Cool. Oh, we have other bread makers in the group. So exciting. All right, well, I will move on to our proteins too, so we can definitely have enough time for our $10 challenge. So with our proteins here, we just want to be making sure we're varying all of our proteins. So we have plant sources and animal sources. I'm not here to endorse eating meat or being vegetarian. It's just all about varying, right? So if you eat meat, like trying to get a night in there of like beans or lentils, that's going to be great. Because again, our beans also fit in our vegetable category. So we're going to get all those yummy nutrients and vitamins from that. Eggs are a great budget-friendly option. You can get a dozen for pretty cheap. Also, who doesn't like breakfast for dinner? So yeah, just trying to vary them up. Again, here there's canned options. So canned tuna or canned chicken. For those, kind of like our fruits and our vegetables, we want to make sure those are canned in water. And again, just trying to have as little added as possible. But again, canned, gonna last for a long time. We can stock up when they're cheap and then easy to throw on a salad or make like tuna salad or chicken salad. Fish is gonna be a good option to throw in there. I have no idea where this is from, that kangaroo is on here. I didn't make this specific slide. So yeah, just trying to vary them as much as we can, and remembering that our nuts and our seeds have protein in them too. So that's always like a great thing to throw into your trail mix. So yeah, and then peanut butter, like peanut butter and apple, one of my favorite snacks. So yeah, here just trying to make sure we're getting a good variety of protein when we can. Again, thinking about our good fats and our bad fats, trying to have more of the nuts and seeds and the olive oil, and then, fries and our fatty meats maybe being more of a sometimes food. And then also our meats can get a little more expensive too. So when we're thinking about eating on a budget, you know, those nuts and seeds, eggs and beans will be the cheaper option. If we are going to be getting, you know, red meat, just looking at the lean percentage and picking the one that is the leanest. So in this example, 93%. So yeah, and then some healthy protein snacks. These energy balls, again, this is a great thing that you can make on the weekend. All right. Oh, I see a lot of questions. Cool. Recommendations for peanut butter that tastes good but isn't sugar filled. Also, is olive oil better than veggie oil? Yeah, sweet. Awesome. Thank you, Remy. So yeah, Teddy's has nothing added in it, just salt and peanuts. Perfect. And cool, Trader Joe's has some good natural options. So yeah, Teddy's is a great brand. That was going to be the one I was going to suggest. And again, though, thinking about our kind of back to that question with the grains, you know, getting Teddy's, if I remember, can be a little bit on the more expensive side. So, you know, again, where we're trying to be conscious and we're eating on a budget, like getting one of that, and then if you want to use that for like something special or just like, you know, a little bit here and there throughout the week to make it last longer. And then you're getting like a smaller container of, you know, the least sugary, cheaper one you can buy, like that's fine. Like that in my book is a good step towards like, I'm being conscious of cutting down my sugars, but I'm also like living in the reality where I can't buy Teddy's every week, right? So I hope that made sense there. And then olive oil is better than veggie oil. So there's really no difference. I kind of like interchange them. Yeah, there's like really, it's like a small enough difference where you're fine, but I'm sure you will read the oils is like one of those things like in my job where like there's a new article every week and everyone is like, oh, well, last week I read this article where like we should only be having cooking like coconut oil. And this week there's an article about how we should only having like this oil. So it's like one of those things where it's like a new flavor every week. But in general, large scale, they're both fine. I see them as equal. Feel free to go with whichever one is cheaper. And also I've heard that some people, it's like a taste thing. Like I use veggie oil when I bake, but when I like cook vegetables, I like to use the olive oil, I like to saute vegetables. So for that one, I'm going to give you personal preference. And it looks like Smucker's also has a great peanut butter. Cool, Matt. Thank you for putting that in the chat. I love this. You're so much more talkative in the chat than my high schoolers. Oh, how about butter? So with butter, yeah, I mean, don't eat a stick of butter, but like sauteing your vegetables are fine. Oh, that's cool. I did not know vegetable broth could be a substitute for oil. I'll have to try that. And that would be really handy too, because you can kind of buy that in bulk, like the 32 ounces. So that's a good trick. I'll have to try that. So yeah, butter, I mean, like use it sparingly. You know, don't go crazy with it, but you know, sometimes I use butter to like saute stuff. So yeah, I mean, just use it sparingly. Try to get I always get the store brand one, like that's cheaper. But yeah, I mean, don't be like a state fair where you're like deep frying sticks of butter. I hope that answers your question well enough. Bread plus butter equals all-time love. I totally feel on that one. Sprinkle a little cinnamon sugar on top. I'm there. So yeah, sweet. And so, right, that was your snack today. Okay, so yes, maybe butter. We don't want to eat it all the time, but if you're able to get some whole wheat bread, I totally see that as a perfect snack. You're getting all that fiber and nutrients from the whole grain, and like the butter, like it's just going to make that toast a little bit better. So again, like if you make that butter a whole grain, I say that's like a perfect snack. It's all about balance and just any little conscious step you can take to being like, oh, I'm just going to do this like one thing. I'm not going to change everything about my diet or how I grocery shop, but I can just do this one thing. And that's always something I like to say at the end too. Like, this is a pretty jammed packed presentation. hope I'm making it fun and understandable. But if you could just take like 1 or 2 things away and like implement that within the next month, like that's perfect. That's 1 or 2 steps you weren't doing before this. Flaxseed, necessary or basically useless? So I don't know specifically about this one. Okay, yeah. So thank you, Jess. I use ground flax as a vegan egg substitute. Yeah. So the only thing I don't know about flaxseed, and Jess, maybe you can help me with this. Like, I know with chia seeds, like those you need to soak them in order to get all the nutrient value from them. So I don't know if flaxseed is like that, but it definitely does have, okay, yeah, it is. So you definitely just want to be making sure that you're like looking up the proper way to use it. Like I was using chia seeds all wrong until like a year ago. And I was like, oh, I need to like soak them overnight. I use them as a thickener for smoothies. Great. Yeah. So I use chia seeds in my smoothies too. So definitely like, I don't know if like a necessary or it's not basically useless, but again, it's just like, you know, Jess uses it as a vegan egg substitute. You can use it in your smoothies. It's just one of those things where you want to make sure you look up the best way to prepare it. So then when you are using it, you're getting all the nutrients you can from it. But that's a great question. So good. Okay, so we'll move on to our last category, dairy. How am I doing on time? Perfect. 10 minutes, and then we'll get into our challenge. So I love the dairy category because there's ice cream in the dairy category. And again, this is where like our balance is. So we want to focus on getting our skim dairy options. So our yogurts and our milks. What's the difference with skim and the whole? So it's just all about the like amount of fat in there from the protein. So there's whole milk, 2%. This one has 1.5%, and then there's skim fat free. So focusing on getting those skim and 1% milks are going to be kind of the best option for you. And that's what the USDA recommends. I'm not really a huge milk drinker anymore, but if you are, that's great. And then surprisingly, in our dairy category for things that aren't ice cream, like our yogurts and our milks, we really want to be cautious because this is another place where companies can add in a lot of sugar where you might not necessarily think about it. So if we look at these yogurt examples, we have the plain and then the vanilla, both low fat or non-fat. So we're good there. But then if we look, 0 grams of added sugar versus 11 grams of added sugar, like that is a huge difference. And here, kind of like I said, with our spices and seasoning our own where we're in control, if you know, maybe like you don't like plain yogurt, it's too plain for you, that's fine, get it, and then add your own honey or fruit, because then once again, like you're controlling how much you're adding in, and with the fruit, you know, that you're getting more of those natural sugars. So again, just one conscious step you can take to limiting the amount of added sugar. I see a question. Read somewhere that the fat in milk helps calcium absorption. Is that real? And would that make non-fat milk less nutritious? That is a very specific question that I'm going to be honest, I don't know the answer to, and I don't want to tell you something wrong. So I have not heard that before. The USDA guidelines say that you can get all of the nutrients you need from non-fat milk. I bet it's probably different for infants and mothers who are nursing. That would be my guess. I don't know the age range specifically, but I know there is some age range for newlyborns and like toddlers up to age 2 where they do recommend like whole or a higher percent milk because they do need that calcium because they're so young. But I haven't heard anything like that for like us as adults. The recommendation is the non-fat milk. But if you want, I can totally like look that up for you. I've never had this question before, but that's what feeling the toddler vibe with that one, maybe, I think. So yeah, cool, great question. And then lastly, just healthy snack ideas on a budget for our dairy group. So yogurt's a great one. We can do these cheese and fruit kebabs, getting multiple food groups in there. So yeah, and then next, if there's any more questions with dairy, I just have 2 quick slides on this one, and then we'll get to our $10 challenge right on time. All right, so our sugary beverages, basically it's saying don't consume so many of them. So our water and our seltzer water, and then also our milks are going to be green, good to go, whereas our kind of diet sodas and low calorie, low sugar drinks are going to be yellow, but then sodas and energy drinks are like red, just as in we like don't want them all the time. And then this is just to show like how surprising amount of sugars can be in drinks. So definitely be looking, and here, you know, this is where companies can trick us with serving sizes. Like you might look right away and be like, that's not a lot of sugar, but then like in that one bottle, there's 3 servings. So you need to multiply that by 3. So yeah, just water is going to be our best option. And then this is kind of what I was talking about earlier on, where if we are going to be getting juice, we just want to make sure it's 100% juice because there's going to be no added sugar. And this is a misprint. There is sugar in grapefruit juice that is natural. I haven't fixed that yet, but there is no added sugar. That is correct. So drink water. That is going to be the best option for you, overall healthiest choice. Do we have any questions? If not, we can get into our $10 challenge. We have like 15 minutes left, which is perfect. All right, so we have our $10 shopping challenge, and I have a prompt for you guys. So we're going to think back to January 2020, a much simpler time, and you're having a dinner party for some close friends, but instead of ordering a pizza, you want to show off your mad new cooking skills. So you need to plan a meal for 4 people that also includes 4 of our different food groups. So fruits, vegetables, protein, grains, and dairy, 4 of those. However, this same week, you paid rent, paid Tufts for classes, and bought a Nintendo Switch. So you only have $10 to spend on this meal. What do you do? All right, so basically how this is going to work is I think there are 21 of us plus Angela and me, so I got 19 participants. So Angela, maybe like 4 or 5 and like 4 breakout groups. And I'll let you talk for 16, like 4 to 5 minutes. And basically I want you to discuss 1 to 2 meals you could create for 4 people. That includes 4 different food groups for around $10. I don't try to just use your knowledge of past grocery store shopping. So like knowing that buying in bulk is going to be cheaper. Our meats are a little more expensive. Canned goods can kind of be around $1, $1.29. I don't have like straight prices for you guys because I kind of just figured we had some grocery store experience in the crowd. And then also to kind of get to the question about before, I also want you to discuss some ways to like stretch your dollar. For example, if you're cooking for 1, because it's not January 2020, it is February 2021, and it is COVID, and some of us are cooking for 1. So yeah, just think about ways, you know, like something you can make with leftovers as an example. I kind of want to see what you can come up with. Can we look up prices in a grocery store app? Yeah, if you have an app, totally go for it. So yeah, feel free to go into your breakout groups. And if you want to like nominate 1 person when we come back, because we'll discuss maybe with some unmuted mics. And yeah, and then I'll stop sharing my screen. So yeah, and then we can hear what you guys like talked about. Angela, are you gonna, I've never done breakout groups. Okay, perfect, awesome, thank you. So feel free to join your All right, cool. Our recording is back in action. So do we, in the interest of time, I don't want to go over 6:30 for you guys. Do we have any, like one brave soul from each group to maybe talk about what they discussed, or we can keep it up with the chat, whatever people feel comfortable with.
I can speak for our group quickly. We had
Awesome.
a very orderly 2-course meal of some sort of pasta and tomato sauce, either incorporating eggplant and zucchini, maybe a little garlic in, and that would cover our grain and vegetables. And then for dessert, some sort of yogurt and strawberries to cover protein, dairy, and fruit.
That sounds awesome. This is gonna make me so hungry. I haven't eaten dinner yet. Cool. Yeah. Awesome. That is great. Yeah. Pasta. So pasta, that's like $1. Tomato sauce, we can get pretty cheap too. And especially if we're looking to keep those added sugars low, still getting those nutrients. And then, yeah, I love the yogurt and fruit idea for dessert.
I can go for our group. We didn't like settle on anything in particular, but we had a lot of different options. So one was like a lentil curry with some rice. Someone said a shepherd's pie, because you can buy like the frozen veggies, and like potatoes are all relatively inexpensive. Sort of like pasta with veggies and sauce and like a meat. The breakfast for dinner with like eggs, you can toss like whatever vegetables in there, add like a whole grain on the side, casserole type thing to like throw all the veggies in there. We're really trying to use the veggies, I think. So
Yeah, I loved when I was in that group for a little bit. I loved when, I think it was Matt, brought up the casserole, and I just like immediately thought of like a lasagna too, load that up with veggies and stuff. That can go a long way. Cool. Well, in the interest of time, and I do want to honor that someone had the question of cooking for one. So if you guys want to include if anyone else still wants to share what's in their group, I don't want to take away from that. But so if you want to put that in the chat, that'd be great. But let's just quickly, oh no. Okay, my last slide, cooking for one. So some of my favorite tips are freezing things so they last longer. So I've even put bread in the freezer and then just kind of like taking out a piece I need the night before, letting it thaw. I usually mostly toast bread too, so it doesn't really matter that it was frozen, at least for me. Meats too, making sure you kind of break them up into the serving size you want them before you freeze them, so you don't have to like completely thaw a huge chunk and then like refreeze later. Leftovers, this is usually my go-to. Like I have made lasagna before, and then that's great to have for lunch or dinner later. The only thing is that sometimes it can get old. I, have had lasagna for 4 days. So in replace of that, thinking about our cooking frameworks, so different meals that use the same ingredients. And a lot of you guys were already hinting at this and talking about this in your small groups. So stir fry and a pasta dinner, like you can get veggies that you could put in both, and then one you're using rice, one you're using pasta. Soups and salads too, like you could get chicken to put in your stir fry and then later make a chicken noodle soup. So thinking about those frameworks, like smoothies are even a framework too. So those are a really great option as well, just if you don't want to be like eating a casserole for 4 days in a row. And then lastly, if at the beginning of this presentation, you were like, wow, her last name is the same as Dean Cook's. Haha, I'm his daughter. So most importantly, it's all about balance and fun. So this is me and my dad. We make pies every year at Thanksgiving, fresh. And so, it's all about that balance and just making cooking fun. Do you eat pies every day? No, but if it's something to do with a family member or a roommate, like that's super awesome. Cooking should be fun. And like I said, there's a lot of stuff in this presentation. If you can just take one thing to incorporate, that's one more step towards eating healthier. And then hopefully you can eat healthier while on a budget. So yeah, thank you. And these are my contact. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. This is the MyPlate, like USDA website. This is our main SNAP Ed website, just has some good recipes. Probably won't help you for like doing a class or something because different state, but then here is your Massachusetts SNAP Ed link. So those will all be available to you. And yeah, thank you so much. I had a lot of fun and I hope you did too.
Thanks, Allie.
Please do Angela's survey.
Thanks, Allie. We'll definitely share out the slides. If anyone has any recipes to share, send them to me and I'll share them with the group. And then I'll be in touch about your $10 challenge card. So thanks, Allie.
Yeah.